Stories podcast. We're glad to have you back again this week. And we're in the studio with a special guest this week, a very, very special guest. Elisa and I have our granddaughter, Sarah French, who's with us this week. Say hello, Sarah.
Hello.
We're very glad to have you.
Yes, we're glad to have you as our guest today. And guess what our guests get to drink?
Our guest gets to drink a Coca-Cola.
They get to drink a pop.
Yes, they get to have their Coca-Cola. There it goes. And she doesn't get Cokes all the time.
No,
so
she
this
does
is a
not
very
ever get a
special
Coke.
treat.
I think she got one whole Coke for her birthday.
Yeah. So I wonder if everyone can hear the slurping. Very good. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Oh my
Whoops,
goodness.
there we go.
Okay, well, Sugar's going to have a drink too, but we're so glad we get to drink, right, on our show, and we're making a lot of Slurpee noises.
Yes. All the people who don't see the video just get to enjoy the Slurpee noises.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about kids and dreams this week.
Okay.
Very good. So Sarah has been practicing for 2 weeks to join us so that she could share some of her dreams, right? Yes.
Okay, wait a minute. So look, we have no idea how this is going to go.
No, we don't.
Just so people are aware who are listening. But look,
It's
we're not
okay.
going to be silly and scream into the microphone. It might hurt people's ears. We're going to talk normal, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So wait, before you take another drink of Coke, hang on. Oops, okay. So when you sit it down, this is the way it
take a
works with
break.
kids, right? All of you parents out there understand this very well.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, look at Pop just a minute, Sarah. You've been telling me about, and you've been telling your mom about some of your dreams. So can you tell me about a dream you've had?
I had the princess had a spoon, a pretend spoon in her and mixing things up. And she was a pretty princess.
She was a pretty princess, and she
Having
had
a dream.
in your dream, right?
And she had a spoon.
And she had a spoon. And was she mixing things?
Uh-huh.
She was mixing things up. Do you remember any of the rest of the dream?
What else?
What else?
Oh, it's a prince and a princess.
It was a prince and a princess?
So was she making something? The princess? Was she with the spoon? And was she mixing something up to make something?
Uh-huh.
What was she making?
What was she making?
She was making soup. Delicious.
She was making delicious soup. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a very interesting dream, Sarah.
Was the princess happy?
Yes.
Was there any color in the dream? Like, was she wearing a certain color of dress? Or
A purple one.
a purple
she
dress.
was wearing a purple dress.
What did her prince look like? Or did they talk to each other? Did she say anything?
Yeah, she did. She said, "Hello, how did you get your prince outfit?"
She was going to get him a prince outfit? Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting, and while they're talking and working through the process here for just a minute, we're going to talk about this is really the way it works when you're trying to work with a child in a dream. You don't, particularly unless they just get up in the morning first thing and tell you a dream. When a child's trying to go back over a dream, it can sometimes be difficult to know which parts are they making up, which parts did they actually dream. And one of the things I want to talk to you as parents about is don't get worried about that. God is a big God. He knows our thoughts before we think them. So even if a child is making up a portion of the dream, God can put that within them, within their holy imagination for it to come forth. And even though it might not have been a dream they actually had in the nighttime, it's a dream in their mind. It's a dream that's coming forth and a story that's coming out of them. And it can still be interpreted because it can still be something that's revealing something about what's going on within them. So it's a kind of a cool thing. So
okay, we're really enjoying this.
Yes,
Coke.
we're really enjoying the Coke. I'm not sure the Coke was the best idea, Sugar.
Well,
Lisa's
very
Sugar
happy.
and I'm Pop.
Yeah.
And it's all good. So you told us about your dream. The princess was in a purple princess dress. and she was stirring up soup with a spoon. Was she going to feed the prince? She was, and she was also looking for the prince a special prince outfit. Is that right?
It was a green one.
A green outfit for the prince.
And it wasn't a princess dress. It was an outfit.
An outfit?
And it was a shirt.
A shirt.
A shirt. Oh, very good.
You know, Michael, a lot of times as she's telling us this, I'm like, okay, is she making this up? But and you said that it really doesn't matter. But she has repeated this to me.
She has.
Several times. So whether it was a daydream or I think it was a night dream.
Right.
It could have been embellished after she woke up. I'm not sure. But she remembers this dream, and she's got another one that she's told me about too. But this is just one of them. So if we were going to interpret this dream, what would you say?
Yeah, if we're going to interpret a dream like this, basically we would tell Sarah, and you have to remember that if you're interpreting a child's dream, that you need to be able to interpret at a level the child can understand. If you're going to interpret the dream for the parent, you can give it one way. If you're going to interpret the dream for the child, it's going to be given just a little bit of a different way. So, Sarah, do you know what your dream means? Do you know what it means?
Yeah.
You do? What does it mean?
It means we can go
on a trip.
We can go on a trip.
Yeah,
well,
that's what it says.
Very good. Well, I think it means this. How about if I tell you what I think your dream means?
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
I think your dream means that your friend, your prince, who is Jesus, is already courting you. He's already wanting to get to know you. And you are doing things now that is practicing and learning and growing to be able to walk in authority and to be able to walk with the kind of life that he wants you to live. And so you're doing things to practice that right now, even though you're little. Okay? What do you think? And see, another thing you need to remember
she
is they may not
amazing.
she does think it's amazing. But they may not have any idea. So I would say to Sugar, grandmother, or to her mom or dad, I would say Sarah's dream is a pretty amazing dream. It basically speaks of that she's preparing herself. She's preparing things in her life already at this young age to be able to have a relationship with God, to be able to have communication, to be able to have revelation. She's moving into a place where she's going to carry some authority. She's going to walk in that purple dress. She's going to walk with some authority, but she's also got to grow into that place. Remember, she's giving the prince the green shirt, so it's about growth as well.
Yeah.
So so she's doing some things now that may seem silly and may seem just fun, but we don't want to discount those things.
Right.
So I would tell mom and dad, don't discount the things she tells you. They may be important. They may be very real. And
she loves princesses and princes, and she loves slurping her Coke. Okay, let's have some good manners. Don't slurp too much. And we're teaching her. This is her first time to really be on a podcast or really being filmed, isn't it?
Yeah,
but she's been begging.
She has.
She has been begging, please, can I come? I want to be on the podcast. She watched her aunt be on the podcast, her parents, what her daddy has been. So this is something she's been really wanting to do.
She's really wanted it. And so we want to encourage the
importance of it,
the spiritual inquisitiveness, the desire to be involved in spiritual things without telling her, without trying to force the framework for how she's going to be involved in it. We want to give her the chance to grow as she, develops. And that means having some occasions when it just doesn't go smooth. You know what? If we were trying to be the most professional podcast in the world, we wouldn't have Sarah on. Because it's not going to go smooth. But you need to remember that it's important that you help your children to grow in the way they grow. And we don't want to override that. We want to teach good manners. We want to teach good ways of approaching things. But all that's a part of the discipline and things you do as a parent in general. This is about encouraging a spiritual experience.
Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah. And we'll drink the Cokes later. We'll finish them later, okay? And you had one more dream. Can she share one more?
Yes, she can. Done? She can share another dream.
Would you like to share the other one you did? You had? What was it about?
It was
I think we're too excited about Coke right now.
You told me something about purple.
Yeah.
No, it had to do with a heart. Something about purple hearts. You're- Okay, that was a burp.
I just burped.
Can you say excuse me?
Yeah, what do you say when you burp?
It was red.
Okay.
Okay.
So did you have a dream about a purple heart?
Yeah.
Tell us about that one.
It was a blue heart.
A what?
A blue heart.
A blue heart.
A blue heart.
It was thingy heart.
It was singing?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So we're really enjoying this podcast. This is really good. So if we're talking about if we just stop there, because sometimes you might not get any more than that out of a child. And so we've got to remember Sarah's 3 years old, just over 3 years old, and we want to encourage. The reason we want to have our own is we want to encourage you to pay attention to kids, even at the very young age. It may be silly. It may be difficult at times, but we want you to pay attention to it. So if we don't get anything more than just a singing blue heart, we're going to talk about that God is singing to her heart. He's preparing her heart for revelation, to hear him. And it kind of goes along with the other dream in some ways as well. And so it does have significance. And even if we don't have anything more than just that singing blue heart, we've got something that has value. Now, the children may not understand it. They may not have a full grasp of it, but they do have the opportunity to grow into an understanding of it. And parents, you guys can understand it. You may want to ask, and on our forum on mydreamstories.com, we get a lot of times parents will post dreams and say, this is a dream my 5-year-old had, or this is a dream my 12-year-old had, or this is a dream my, sometimes this is a dream my 17-year-old had, So just because we don't have the dreamer themselves as a child able to understand everything, or even to take it really serious, doesn't mean parents and grandparents can't. So it does become important in that regard. So
I think we are at our limit on our patience with things, and
I believe we are. So I think what we should do is take a break.
Yes.
Let us get Miss Sarah back to her mom and dad, and then we'll come back and finish up the podcast with a little more about kids' dreams.
Yes. Do you want to say bye to everybody?
Bye.
We thank you, Sarah, for joining us today on our podcast.
And I'm going to let you take your little Coke and finish it somewhere else, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's take a break.
We're going to get this Sarah out to her room. So Okay? I'll just go ahead and we can let Michelle come up and get her. So, or whatever, we take her out towards her room. And then I'll go in that way is fine too. But move as quick as you can. All right, welcome back to the first time ever 2-part single episode of Dream Stories.
Ooh, I don't know how much more of that I could have done with her slurping and burping and.
Well, and everybody doesn't know it took us about 2 minutes to get her to her folks and get back and settle in. But for them, for everybody listening, it's just a quick cut. But I think it was important to do that though, because a couple of things. I think it's important to for people to understand, we really believe that it's important to value your kids and value your grandkids.
Absolutely.
And value their spiritual experiences. If dreams are spiritual experiences, then we can't just make fun of them and take them lightly. We don't know which parts are going to be real, which parts are going to be make-believe, which parts are going to be daydreams, which parts are going to be night dreams. We just have to seek out what has value within that process.
Right. I want to say when Joshua, which is Sarah's daddy, was about 5, maybe 6. We were riding down the road, and we turned down this street. And I don't know if you remember this. And he said, "Oh, there's going to be a gas station there." And I said, "What?" I said, "No, there's a car wash there." He goes, "No, but there's. I dreamed there was a gas station there." And then the next thing we know, like within a month, they had torn down the car wash. Built a gas station. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And that's what we would call a prophetic dream. And that's why, and that had that, you'd say, why would our creator, why would the God of creation give a 5-year-old a prophetic dream about something that's coming, and particularly a car wash turning into a gas station? What value does that have? that's teaching a child that they do hear from God.
Well, not only did he say it was a gas station, he said the name of the gas station, like a Chevron or something like that. It was very specific, and that is exactly what came to that spot. So I think it is important that we pay attention to those things. It doesn't mean that it reveals everything about what's happening around you and what's happening in the world and all decisions you need to make. But like you said, it does pinpoint that children should not be discounted when they have a dream, and that they do hear from their creator.
It's true. And I love the idea. And, you know, I talk about this topic a lot because I really believe we discount our kids too much, and we teach them not to be spiritual, basically.
Right.
We don't intend to do that, but we teach them not to be spiritual because we don't pay attention, or we tell them, well, you're just making that up, or that was just pretend, or that was just your imagination.
Right.
And maybe it's not always their imagination. Maybe the person who came into the room to help them with something was an angel. Maybe the thing that's in the closet was a demon or demonic or a dark spirit. You know, it would be much better, I think, if we were willing to say to them, assuming it was real, how would we deal with it? You know, so let's pray, or let's take authority, or let's welcome God to speak to us and hear us. And so I think that's important. And then the other thing that I think people ask and we don't get sometimes is, you know, why the gas station? What value did that have? Why did he get the name of the gas station? You see it in the dream. Well, I mean, think about it. Would you rather learn to hear your creator's voice on stuff that makes no difference at all, except just helps you learn it,
or on hard
or
things.
on a life and death scenario? You know,
and for us to get something young, like at 5 years old, at 3 years old, and there have been times when our children have woken up and said an experience that they had in the night, like somebody hit me, and they'll be really angry when they wake up, and I'm like, no, you probably dreamed that, you know, and then that's when they begin to understand that they actually have dreams. But that's so true, Michael, is that, you know, if they are learning it on something very hard in life, that's a terrible time to probably learn it.
Right.
And God has languages that he uses with his children, and with every one of us, it's a little bit different. Yeah. No one's language between themselves and their creator is the same or exactly the same. It may be similar. Everybody hears differently, understands differently, comprehends differently.
Well, we even have our own unique dream languages. God has a picture language,
right?
But you could almost say each one of us have a little different dialect. We understand the symbols and the images in our dreams a little different, you know, maybe from what everybody else would understand. And there'll be commonalities, things that are very common across the board. We talk sometimes about different meanings of symbols that are very frequent, very often. For example, snakes. Snakes in dreams are often lies or deception or verbal attacks, words of some kind. But that doesn't mean they always are, because each person has a unique dream language. And so for some people, you know, a snake might mean something slightly different. I've used this example before, but we talk about, for example, a black cat. A black cat in a lot of people's dreams would be a very negative symbol. It's almost associated with witchcraft due to old, you know, stories and wives' tales and fairy tales and things like that. The black cat that rides on the broom with the witch kind of thing, you know, or is the familiar of the witch. But also some more other reasons why it's commonly that would be what it means. But I have a black cat that
she's your baby.
She's my baby. She's in my lap anytime I sit down.
Right.
And so that's not what a black cat means to me. My experience with a black cat is different.
Right.
And children are the same way. We just don't always know what they're experiencing.
Well, to be fair, even on that point, Michael, wouldn't you say it all depends on the context of the dream? Because if you had a dream where Rue, your little kitty, was sitting in your lap, and another black cat came up that you did not have a good feeling about in a dream, that doesn't mean that you would discount that and say all black cats are good, because you have your individual language, and you have to understand what is the meaning behind each metaphor. And so, you know, if you're 5 and you have a dream that Chevron's going to be on the corner, and you're learning your language between you and your creator, your dream language, whatever, or even how God communicates with you. When you're 25 years old and you've had multiple times since you were 5 years old that you've had these unique experiences, it's going to build your faith to believe God when He tells you something.
And
so
when
let's
something's
just say
really important, you'll believe
that's
it.
what I'm going to say. So let's just say at 25 you're getting married and you have a dream that you should not marry this person, or you're going to ask someone to marry, and it says you should not. I mean, you would want to interpret that properly, and you would want to get help with that when it's a very important decision like that. But, if that's how God has been speaking to you, it's very important that you listen to that and have an understanding.
Yeah, and I love the idea, too, like going back to Sarah's dreams of, she was being silly. She was enjoying being on camera.
Right.
She was having a good time playing and just laughing and having her Coke, which she doesn't get very often.
Right.
She was being silly.
Right.
But within the silliness, there were nuggets of truth.
Right.
She has no clue what that dream means, what either one of them means. Wasn't even willing or ready to listen to us about what it means. Now, in another context somewhere else, I might be able to sit down with her, talk to her again, and then a little time later talk to her again, and a little time later talk to her again until it begins to have life and meaning for her, even as a 3-year-old.
Right.
But I can't expect a 3-year-old to respond to an interpretation the same way a 23-year-old would, or a 43-year-old would, or a 63-year-old would. We've got to take them where they are. We have to be. You don't want, you don't want a 5-year-old doing brain surgery, right? They don't have the cognitive capacity to understand it in full. So God doesn't speak to them about the things that are unbelievably significant and amazing. He just speaks to them about what they have the capacity to understand. So Sarah loves princesses.
Yeah.
So he speaks to her in her language.
Which makes sense. I mean, honestly, if there are things that happen in our dreams that have to do with what we're going through in seasons, right? So for a child who always thinks about princesses, wants to dress like a princess every day, it's not unusual for God to use that as a dream metaphor for her.
Right.
She also loves cooking.
She does.
Loves cooking and wants to help me. She was helping me tonight. She helped you last night cook.
She did.
So
Helped me bake a cake this week.
Yeah. So she loves that. So two of the elements that she absolutely loves and adores were in her dream.
Things she's familiar with, God speaks to her using them. And another thing I love about it, too, is it also gives us a good illustration of how a child can interpret the dream with what they want. It can be a spiritual dream, but they interpret it from a soulish nature for themselves. Because when we asked her if she knew what it meant, what'd she say? A trip. A trip. So when she associates princesses with things, she associates them with Disney, and she's going to go to Disney World later this year, and she knows she's going.
I forgot about that.
So she has a dream about a princess.
Yeah.
It must mean she's going to get to go see a princess.
Yeah.
So she's interpreting from a soulish nature. That's not a terrible thing. That's a process of learning how to distinguish between what my soul desires, go see a princess at Disney World, versus what was God actually saying. And wouldn't it be better to learn how to make that distinction again at 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, than to be where we were at, 20, 25, whatever it was.
Absolutely.
I guess about 25 or so. Well, gosh, I guess maybe 30.
Absolutely.
We were having to learn those things because nobody taught us. Nobody taught us how to distinguish. So we can now work with her day in, day out, and they're living with us right now while they build a house.
Yeah.
So we get to see her every day, talk about her dreams every day.
Yeah.
Just like a parent would. We get that extra special grandparent role right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And her parents believe in dream interpretation, God speaking through dreams, so they can help her.
Yeah.
And we're just in a place where it can be reinforced. How do you distinguish what's God, what's my soul, what was God speaking versus what did I interpret out of my own mind? And I think it's just a great time to be able to start learning those things.
It is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that for sure.
Yeah, so it's just a I love the idea of having kids involved. When I was a pastor, people used to get frustrated with me sometimes because I wanted the kids to be in the service. I wanted them to be a part of things. It didn't mean we didn't have children's programs for them, but I've been in places where there was not a children's program going on or something, and the kids were going to have to be in a church service. And I don't want them to have a negative experience from that.
Right.
I think we have people, maybe even people who listen to and watch this podcast, who had really negative experiences in church as little kids and as older kids.
Yeah.
And it turned them off and pushed them away from church.
Yeah.
And I don't want those things to push a person. I don't want to push my granddaughter away from God.
Mm-hmm.
That's the, so I used to say, look, if they cry, they cry. If they laugh, they laugh. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to get through things anyway. Wouldn't you rather them be here and experience these things? And that's what it's like with dreams and with spiritual experiences for kids.
True.
I would like to know they're experiencing it. Period.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we don't, like you said early on in the podcast, is that we don't discount what they see or hear. Not that we want to encourage everything and say everything has an element of truth in it. But even Sarah, as a young child, I mean, like at 2.5 and before she turned 3, we would be in a restaurant and a man would walk by and say, "How you doing, baby?" And then they'd walk on by and she'd go, "Oh, that's a bad man," you know?
Yeah.
And we would be like, "Okay, Sarah," you know, and then sometimes they would come up to her and she just didn't want to have anything. And she didn't do that with every male figure that
she
came
had
up.
like people with beards or people who were dressed in certain colors. It wasn't like that. It was very distinct.
Right.
And so could we say that was discernment? And she was discerning something. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We may not ever know.
But you don't discount.
But we don't want to discount it.
Right.
We want to teach her to be respectful.
Or how do we know that they couldn't have had a dream about someone? You know, I'm not saying at such a young age they don't know how to articulate that or share that. So
that's right. And so we want to teach them to be respectful and wise in the way they respond.
Of course.
Kind, etc.
Yes, of course.
But also to pay attention to those things. And for parents to pay attention to those things.
Yeah, that's true.
It really can be powerful stuff.
Yes,
so
so true.
it's I think we just don't value the spirituality of our kids at any age.
Right.
You know, we've talked in the past even about unique dream experiences that some scientific evidence seems to indicate that what we call a pregnancy dream, a mother can have dreams that are intertwined with the fetus's dreams, with the baby's dreams. And we don't understand that completely, and the science behind it I don't get completely, but they do brainwave monitoring stuff, and I don't know how it all works. But right now they can tell if you're dreaming when they have monitors on you, from your brain activity.
Sure.
And they do something, and they can see where this brain activity corresponds. And so the baby's dreaming, the mother's dreaming, and there's an impact there. I mean, that's just wild to me that before a child could even communicate, before they've even come into the natural world out of their mother's womb, they're already interacting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you can watch a newborn and they'll close their eyes and you'll see the REM happening, right? Yeah. And then they'll stop, and then when dreams will start happening where their eyes move a little differently, and their breathing will increase, and they'll go
they may give a little giggle.
Or they might give a little giggle or a little whimper.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's happening. Now, we don't know exactly to what level that they're dreaming. Maybe they're seeing images, faces. Maybe it's just emotions of what they're feeling. But there's, you just, it's really miraculous to watch a newborn.
Yeah.
Realize from the point that we are, somewhat conceived, or at least at a certain point where they can monitor that kind of stuff, something's going on.
Well, I'm reminded of a passage of scripture in the Old Testament. I believe it was Jeremiah. I'm pretty sure I wish I could remember. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were knit together, I knew you.
Yeah.
And so our Creator is engaged in our life from before we're even formed, conceived.
That's true.
Why would we not expect that relationship to continue into a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old?
Right.
And I just think it gives life to the spiritual experience of a little one.
Yeah.
And it can be very important. So, well,
that's good.
I didn't know whether we would be done in 2 minutes
or have enough
tonight,
to talk about.
Or last for an hour, but our time's up.
It'll
so.
be entertaining to go back and watch this one.
It will be. We'll be making ourselves.
Yeah.
Please comment on this video.
Yeah.
If you've never commented on the
Yeah.
video, comment on this one because we just like to know what you think about this.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So
Yeah.
it's such a fun time for us. Hope it was fun for you too. We had a blast.
Yes.
We'll have some laughs about this, I'm sure,
Oh,
after
yeah.
the fact too. So.
Hey, we're talking about children having dreams. We may have to talk about pets having dreams.
Oh, now you get into a whole nother world there. So, right at the very end, just as I'm about to close out, pets will be another topic at another time. So,
Until then.